All right, guys, welcome back to the Free Range 6M podcast. Today we got Dad, Maynard, Tristan Gilbert here in the house. Just about everybody we know has been taking down some deer, and it's been a good season, and it's good to have everybody in here, and so we're going to, just talk some shit.
Absolutely. Deer season.
Let's kick it off with Tristan. I met him through my cousin Alex Costanza, and we've been buddies since basically we moved in here. Came up for a little preview of the building one day, and then from there we just been hanging out and having good times. And I think we're gonna go up to my uncle's this weekend and hunt some deer and have a good time. And
he was on our frog gigging adventure too.
Have a
frog
gigging
a little bit. Outdoor.
Yeah. So Tristan, tell us a little bit about where you come from and what you're into, what draws you in on the deer hunting.
I'm from Greenwood, Missouri, and I grew up deer hunting my whole life, and hunting of everything, pretty much anything that's legal. And growing up doing that, it's a complete passion of mine, and just chasing after anything that moves. It's pretty much what it comes down to, and it's what's in my blood. And
we are talking about hunting, though, right?
Yeah. That's Yeah, it depends on a different type of tail, but that's but no, that's the passion for me on being able to chase deer, especially, and then turkeys on top of that are my two main passions on that. But being able to do that is it's where I find myself. It's where I'm able to speak, just feel myself out completely, and just be as close to God as possible. And I'm just able to be myself is really what it comes down to.
Isn't that the truth? That's fucking awesome.
So you'd say hunting outdoors is what makes you happy?
Absolutely.
So around here we say that whatever makes you happy, what brings you happiness is your free reign. We believe that freedom is a nucleus of happiness, and being out there hunting deer and hunting whatever moves, that brings you happiness. That provides that sense of freedom for you. What about you, Dad?
Well, I love that time of the morning and deer hunting when it's still dark, sun ain't come up yet, and you get in your stand or you get to your spot and everything's quiet. Maybe a coyote or maybe you hear an owl kind of coming over you, and that's the best moment ever.
Yeah.
Is when it's still dark and everything's quiet and your eyes are adjusting, and you're just kind of getting familiar again with your area, and it's my favorite time ever.
Yeah.
Besides my son's being born, right? But that's
can't beat that.
Nope.
Yeah.
I was watching. Yeah. So you were born obviously the day after Thanksgiving, and I watched Clint Eastwood movies all day at the hospital, waiting for this guy to come
in the uncomfortable chairs. And
right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so more about. How'd your hunt go this year so far?
I'm tagged out as of yesterday.
Okay.
I killed 2 different bucks. One with my bow. That was a deer that I hadn't had in 2 years. So I had 3 years of history with him. Didn't have last 2 years. He just disappeared. Thought he's completely dead. Thought the neighbors killed him or HD got him. I had 2 buck my buck and my doe decoy out, and this is about 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, and I did a light grunting sequence on this property that I can hunt, and this deer came in, slipped in downwind of me, and was coming in to check out the decoys. I shot him straight below me, and good shot is what it was, and I ended up by 1 lung, clipped the back, technically 2 lunged, and then liver shot him. He ran probably about 150 yards and then piled up, and I played it safe. I went in there the next day, found him. It was a loss on the meat. I mean, it was 75 degrees, and that night it was 60-something. And so just with that kind of shot, even with a clean shot, it would have, you would have lost that deer.
Right.
So I made up for it, shot a few does on opening weekend for a farmer, and then, yesterday I shot a deer that he scored 153 inches.
That was a nice deer.
Yeah,
I saw that one.
Yeah, 13 scorables and 14's like right on the edge, like the 1 inch mark. So I can't.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
be a little conservative on him. He's technically 14, but he's 13. Yeah. That's
awesome.
2 quality deer that, I'm just blessed enough to do that. And I'm still going to do a lot of doe management this year. And I've got a lot of coyote management and predator management to do still. And
we need to do the coyote thing.
Yeah.
We need to do that.
Yeah.
I had one a couple of years ago that I lost too, and had to go track him down the next day, and blessed to find him, and unfortunately it was still cold and he was fine. But that's that one with the velvet still hanging on his rack. Yeah, he's a beautiful deer. But it just makes your heart sink when you lose them. It
really does. Damn. That's this year losing. I lost one to the neighbors. I had permission to go on their property, and they backed out once their son, or it's some distant son-in-law in the family, married in, and he got pictures of me in the tracker on his trail camera. Ended up being a big stink about it, and it didn't sit right, and so didn't go back in, track this deer, which I'd had history with the deer for 3-4 years, and it was a really big, small frame rack because he was on his downhill slope, but he was an 8-year-old deer, so I
think that's probably what happened with yours this year. Yeah, he was just on the downhill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was an old one. Yeah, I think there was something like 90,000 deer.
90,000+ deer in Missouri opening weekend.
Yeah.
And I think I heard like 50-something thousand of that was bucks.
Yeah. It was a good amount of bucks on that. And that's a lot attributed to that opening of that early doe season too.
Okay.
They killed, I want to say it was like 20,000.
And we've generally been in a sort of warmer weather pattern the last 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah,
the winters haven't been terrible, and except for a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Opening day wasn't bad. Opening day was all right.
No, it was good. It was really perfect weather.
That's how
if you're out there in the morning, it's 30 degrees, and it don't get higher than 60, 65. That's pretty decent weather.
That's exactly what I was thinking whenever I was out there. I was like, yes, this is how it's supposed to be. Right. And now after the hunt, I killed both of them bucks, and it was 70-degree weather.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that were telling me, don't go out, it's 70-degree weather. No, they rut no matter what.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, I've read the data, especially if it's a partly cloudy, northwest wind, which I don't think we had this last
it's all
weekend.
Been south.
It's all been south. But if you get that northwest wind,
it's a new front
partly
coming
cloudy,
in.
That's good season.
That's why I hunted yesterday, because yesterday, even though it was a southeast or a southwest wind, but it had a high pressure. It was 30.25, and it was climbing. And so I was like, I seen, I had my eyes dilated yesterday, and I wasn't even supposed to be driving as it was. And they told me, they're like, you're all right. And so I ended up, I went and hunted, and so that's part of my issue, being able to see that deer in the sunset. But a lot of it that came down to that, and my buddies were telling me, oh man, you're not going to kill nothing, it's 70 degrees,
Right.
And I'm like, man, no, they're rutting. And I'm like, and I looked at the pressure, and I wasn't originally going to hunt. I wanted to hunt, but I wasn't originally going to hunt. But then I looked at that pressure, and it was climbing, and I was like, man, I was like, I got to be out there. I was like, these bucks, the mature bucks are going to be breaking off their does, and I was like, it's going to be a good night, and between now and today. And that's the amount of guys.
And there wasn't any moon over the weekend either, right? So that was good.
And the amount of guys I seen kill between last night and today, I know 5 personally that killed deer over 150 inches. Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of thinking this weekend would be a good sort of post-rut.
Yeah, it will. But
it's
still rut going on. They're just now breaking off their first does.
So it might be a really solid weekend.
It's going to be a really solid weekend. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of...
And it's supposed to cool down a little bit this weekend, so I'll be back out there.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of big deer that get killed.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. How about yours? Tell us about that one.
Well, Christian went out with me. It was, got out there early as hell, and seen a bunch of deer. Started off with doe, trailing around, hopping around everywhere, and seen a smaller buck chasing a doe. Passed on him. We were out there 3 hours, and then that 8-point came out, and he looked mature, older deer. So I was like, all right. And I don't have the time that everybody else has to hunt. I'm filming everybody else, So when I see one, and it's mature, I'm probably taking it.
Yeah, that was a good one.
He was trotting around for a while, and I rattled him in for a little bit, and he got within 25 yards and took him.
Yeah, it was nice shot too. You dropped him.
Mm-hmm.
It was what were you shooting?
The 270.
Yeah.
270.
Yeah.
Yep, and he fell down, dropped immediately. Didn't have to chase after him or nothing. It was quick and easy, and got him out of there. Got a new,
you
some
almost
footage
grabbed the
of it.
300, and that'd have been 25 yards.
Yeah.
Done whopped him.
Yeah.
That's
I'd knocked him down, even if he didn't make a great shot.
pretty much.
Yeah. It was a lightweight weapon. It was easy. Weather was great.
Yeah, it was a perfect morning.
Yeah.
It was really still not even hardly a breeze.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 30. It was about 30 degrees because it was frost, heavy frost.
Yeah, that's how it was up there by Kirksville where we were at.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was Christian's. It was your first time hunting, right? Yeah, so he got to see that, and it was a great time.
I was gonna say the squirrels were driving crazy.
They're about. Yeah, be like, what is that?
Yeah, look back, and it's just some fucking squirrels.
Yeah, dude. I don't know how many times I've been sitting there, and you're like, man, that really sounds like a deer. And you're like, you look just slowly over your shoulder. You're like, oh, it's a squirrel.
Yeah.
Then you hear something that sounds like it's complete opposite of a deer, and you look, and you're like, oh shit! Like, he's right.
How many
in my
times
lap.
do you just want to fucking shoot that squirrel?
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
With that 7mm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there was 270 here.
Well, I always pack a squirrel arrow with my bow, and I'm like, I'm like, you're gonna sit there and bark,
Right.
That's why I'll go out there to the all the open ranges for people shooting their bows, the public ranges.
Uh-huh.
And all these people lose arrows, and so I'll just go collect a bunch of arrows that I find, and I'm like, what better thing to do?
That's a fucking solid idea.
In my
right there.
quiver, I have a coyote arrow and I have a squirrel arrow.
Nice.
And so I have a shitty broadhead on one end on my coyote arrow because I'm like, I shoot a coyote. Which
Who cares?
I've shot 6 coyotes and 5 of them been with my bow this year.
Okay.
And that's then I'll shoot squirrels with them, but I usually kill a couple squirrels every year. Yeah,
That's awesome. You got to take a picture of that shit
Right.
next time. I want to see that arrow sticking through that fucking squirrel.
yeah.
You're going to have to go hang out with him with a coyote hunt. I'd like to go.
No, I definitely want to do
Yeah.
that.
Well, we started using the thermals last year.
Yeah, that'd be fucking badass.
Total game changer.
Really?
That's
Talk
great
about
footage
that.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. That's
Great footage.
So talk about that thermal. How you using that to help you hunt? And
so pretty much just on that. Like we used it last night. Thermal scanner went in there, and I was pretty sure I made a really good shot on that deer, but just you never know. And so we went directly to where I seen him go in at, which is about almost 200 yards away from where I was hunting from, and the guy I was with, his thermal, he was scanning while I held the light, and just in case we needed to just shine, see where the deer was at, and so he was able to see the body heat of that deer just laying there dead.
Okay.
And I shot that deer at 5:12, and this was 9:30 at night, and so even hours after, and that's one of my big things. I kind of go back and forth on it. Like, it's technically not illegal to use the thermal drones in Missouri. There's guys that are using them, but it's kind of the gray area right now. So you're allowed to use the thermal drones to look at wildlife, but essentially if these guys that are trackers go in with these thermal drones and are able to see guys that, they had a wounded deer.
yeah.
Well, after they spotted that wounded deer, the hunter's not allowed to go back in there, no matter what, whether it's the next day or not, because that thermal drone aided in the hunt, and it's illegal.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's kind of this big gray area right now, and you're already starting to see some cases on stuff of people pushing the limits, and it's going to be one of them deals that they either allow or they just completely outlaw. And it's just like the cell cameras that you keep seeing, and which I run them. But the places out west, Kansas banned trail cameras completely on private lands or on public lands.
Okay.
Missouri, I mean, public lands were already banned. You're not allowed to use them.
Okay.
But Utah and New Mexico, you're not allowed to use the cell cameras at all out there. And so that's, so I really think they'll probably.
Get it. I kind of get it.
Well, I know personally some guys that have got a deer on trail camera, as soon as their camera sends it to them, runs out there to the end of something, and
we're talking about that this weekend.
That ain't hunting. I mean, but it is what it is. To each their own on that stuff, because they could say the same thing about me and you. Sitting out there for 4, 5, 6 hours. Someday all day sits. And be like, that ain't hunting.
Right.
I can walk out my back door and I can shoot them.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Back to the drone thing. We were up in North Dakota, and somebody told us if you use a drone, you can't hunt the rest of the day.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe somebody out there can tell us. No, I just filming like normal drone. Like if you're out there and you fly it out there,
because you all waterfowling then, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that's they've got something about like that here. That's you're not allowed to use it like to aid the hunt. And because a lot of guys, they'll fly them over like these pieces of property that you don't
easy as hell.
Well, you'll just bump these birds up and they're going to get up and fly around.
Yeah.
And so then, you're sitting there just hailing on, just calling at them. And, they're like, oh, okay. Everybody's over here hanging out now. And,
Yep. So what would you say about Missouri in general, hunting deer, hunting big bucks? How would you compare it to other states? Would you say Missouri's the top?
Missouri's
not
state? One of the top, but it absolutely has the potential to be one of the absolute top states. I mean, the Missouri Monarch over in St. Louis, by the St. Louis area on that Mississippi River Basin, I mean, was complete like world record class potential on that deer. And the amount of potential that we have with the agriculture that we have here in the beginning of practices, like in the last 5 years, you've seen Oklahoma. Oklahoma was a state that you killed deer, that were essentially like this, and basket rack deer, stuff that you didn't see a lot of mass on, you didn't see very good height or width on. They were deer. And, for those people down there, they were big deer. Well, in the last 5 years, you've really started to see the agricultural turn on that stuff. And the amount of people that are, putting in food plots, putting in the work, being able to manage the soil out there, knowing whether they need to put lime or, all this different stuff, all these different fertilizers, and bring in different topsoils or create a better topsoil to where they can row crop. And these guys are, they're feeding them supplements and minerals, in which Oklahoma's a state that you can bait.
Yeah.
Missouri's not. So, but also recently there's been a big push for Oklahoma to go to one deer. Oklahoma, like I said, the last 5 years they just started killing just monster deer. And that's with the increase of of the row crop production. I mean, there's a reason why we have big deer here is because of all the row crops.
Right.
That and the minerals that got brought down by the glaciers, they go down. That's like same way with down in Georgia, most Georgia deer and like Alabama, that area, like they're small deer.
Right.
But they have something called the Black Belt, which is a area down there that the glaciers, they just took all these nutrients from way up north, took them way down, and they grow huge deer down there. And it's a highly coveted area. Everybody's, always trying to, one up the next guy on that, like trying to keep them out of their spots, and, which I completely understand on that stuff. And, we're in the Midwest where, they're grain-fed deer. I mean, they're feed on corn, they're soybeans. And I mean, we're going to go big deer.
Right.
But if Missouri went to a $1 state, we were up until 2015, we were a $3 state. In which, you could kill 2 with your bow, 1 with your rifle.
Right.
Then after 2015, they switched over and went to a $1 with a rifle, $1 with a bow, or 2 with a bow, but one of them had to come after rifle season. So with that being said, they at least took it down, and personally, I didn't see any jump on the size of deer, like making a difference, but you did see a big number of like the amount of deer increasing, and so
Right.
there's a lot less people that are out there just killing does and everything. They go out there, they kill their 2 bucks or whatever, and they're done. But in all reality, if Missouri went down to a $1 state like Kansas, and we're one of the cheapest states for people to hunt in.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And they come here, they get 2 any deer or an any deer tag, and they're able to kill their buck, kill their doe, and then kill 2 turkeys,
Right.
which our turkey population's already screwed. It's gone on downhill slide on that. And,
Yeah.
but just it really brings everybody here because we're the cheapest Midwest state, and also Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Iowa, Indiana, all those states are all draw. So for a non-resident, Missouri's an over-the-counter. So you just walk up to Walmart and you go, okay, I want to buy a deer tag.
Yep. $265. Yep.
Yeah, I mean $270. You're out the
Yeah,
door,
right.
And it's pretty easy. And Missouri has a lot of conservation ground, and but in all reality, it doesn't. At the same time, like they.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it's an economy, right? The Missouri economy
Yeah.
profits off that. It's tons of money coming into the state.
I mean,
definitely.
you got to think about that: food, fuel, hotels.
That's
I
right.
mean,
That's exactly right.
and
Processors.
let alone,
Money.
and then let alone the tags,
It's jobs.
Yeah.
Right.
And, I mean, the amount of small towns, like especially the northern part of the state where the really big deer are at.
Right.
The amount of small towns that are just run off of deer season.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of towns out in Kansas that are that way. Like these little towns that have like 10 people, and they're like, we make all our money during deer and turkey season and pheasant season.
Right.
Which the pheasant population, it's gone. So they're like, we're relying on, otherwise we'll get wiped off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quail's starting to come back in Missouri too, which is a good thing.
Little bit
You
at a
mentioned
time.
soils. Yeah, a little bit. Chad Fisher, Reeser Seeds, Chillicothe, Missouri. He's always preaching about soils, right? And you mentioned glaciers, right? It's all about the geology of an area and then how you can enhance the soils and grow those food sources, right? It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge for wildlife. It's huge for us.
We have to bring this motherfucker everywhere with us.
Yeah.
He just spit some knowledge
He did.
to the
He
fucking
did.
world.
Yeah,
you know?
we're gonna have to get him and Chad on the fucking podcast.
Yeah.
Oh
now.
yeah. I called Chad
Well-
the other day. I was riding up 36. I'm like, I was like, you guys are gonna fix these roads up here? They're pretty shitty.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll be up there this weekend. We'll
Yeah.
have to run a podcast with Chad up there.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
That'd be
Definitely.
fucking
That'd be a good
badass.
time. Around the campfire.
Uh-huh.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
That'd be a good time.
Shout out to Uncle Chad.
My Uncle Chad, yeah.
He's a dickhead, but
Yeah.
special guy.
Yeah. He is a
You know?
special
Great guy. Yeah. What would we do without him?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the compared to other states? You got, like we were just saying, so many hunters come in and people make money off it, the economy, and so what's the deer population like here compared to other states? Is the deer population massive compared to other places, or what's that looking like?
Yeah, I would say Missouri and deer and turkey are real high. In fact, that might still be number one.
We're
Top
one
three.
of the top. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
we're one of the top states.
It kind of
Okay.
varies a little bit year to year, but yeah, heavy. I mean, there's a lot of people that come into Missouri looking for deer and turkey.
Yeah.
So not the biggest, but population-wise, we're pretty strong here.
That's
Yeah.
and
Okay.
where I was going with that too is, I mean, we have the potential to be one of the. I mean, I really think we could be the top state and on big deer, because just the amount of agriculture. And if you went down to a $1 state where these guys that have the opportunity to kill, especially the landowner tags, like being able to kill multiple deer like on your property. These guys are killing 2.5-year-old deer, 3.5-year-old deer, even the 4-year-olds. Like there's a lot of 4-year-olds that I passed that I was like, like it's just not the age class that I was looking for. I passed a really big one last year with my rifle that I would have been happy killing with the bow. I would have been happy killing with the rifle. But I looked at him, and I'd been watching him, and I'm like, man, I'm like, he's 4.5-year-old deer, and I'm like, what can he blow up to? Seen him again this year. All he did was he cleaned up and grew. I mean, he grew another 10, 12 inches, man.
Yeah.
I mean, just what can happen in 1 year. But, I mean, if you dropped it down to one buck, I mean, if you really think about it, so the, however many deer bucks that got killed this weekend, that would have been cut in half.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Right.
Yep.
and my thing too is like, with youth season and stuff, youth season during the rut, which I don't mind. I want kids to be in,
Right.
In hunting, but
Yeah.
usually it always happens. It falls right on October 31st, like that weekend there. It just gets colder than hell. Like it's
Yeah.
that first cold front we hit, and
Yeah.
I mean, he drops down and everybody's cold, and do you really want kids out in the cold? Like, does it give them that experience? Like, not a lot of people have the the big box blinds or the buddy heaters in them, where these kids can just sit on their phones and enjoy them, just be kids.
Right.
And a lot of us had to suffer.
We did.
And,
I guarantee
we,
you.
we lucked
Cold as a
into.
motherfucker.
I remember him.
Yeah, cotton bibs, everything. You're like, man,
Shit.
this sucks.
He
Yeah,
never did like cold milk.
Man.
But
Yeah.
that's what I've talked to a few guys. I'm like, man, if you could switch it to late September, early October, like Kansas has an early muzzleloader season for anybody. Like,
Yeah.
and a lot of guys kill some giants. I mean, freaking giants. In which late September, deer are super patternable.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I'm not sure if more kids would kill in September or late October. Late October you have a lot of deer running around starting to pre-rut chase, but September, if you can go out, stick a kid out on a bean field in a stand that's 60 degrees, 70 degrees, this kid's gonna be out here and you go, oh man,
Right.
this is
Right.
nice.
Yeah.
Like I can
Right.
do this, and
Oh, man.
and so I really think you get a lot of like more positivity, because I hear from a lot of guys like that's one of the like big limiting factors. And I mean, I even know as a kid, and I mean, I came up from a big hunting background. I was able to endure it because I loved hunting so much that I'd endure the cold, and
right.
then you start buying better stuff and
Yeah.
that kind of deal. But
Yeah.
it's like no kid wants to sit out there. I mean, I'm an adult and I don't want to sit out there in the cold.
Right. It's
Yeah, I
tricky
know.
because when you're raising kids and you get them out there and at a young age, that experience of weathering the weather, getting through it, having that patience and that commitment and that just feeling it, I think it's important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you're right. And it's also it can discourage them, right?
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah, I think it does discourage a lot more
Yeah.
than it does. Yeah.
Yeah, it probably does.
That's-
Well, I see some of these motherfuckers, they're like, yeah, Billy got a nice buck, and it's like, motherfucker, there ain't no way
Your
that
kid
kid shot that motherfucker.
Yeah, I know you
And
stole
I got
rifle
two
from her.
daughters, so I'm thinking I ain't gonna do it. But I'm thinking, next year I might pop out like Asa,
He's
5 years old.
They're gonna be out
you know,
there. I
Look at
guarantee
this
you
fucking
that.
14-pointer
Yeah.
monster.
Well,
You know?
3 years ago, we had a 14. That was we've been 4 or 5 years off and
Yeah.
on seeing it.
Really?
Opening morning of rifle season, a 14-year-old boy shot it. Great first shot, great first buck. He'll never see a deer like this again. This was a really nice 14 too,
Yeah.
real nice. And he was a probably 6.5-year-old deer. He was old, so I'm glad he got shot.
That's up in
It was up in Chillicothe,
Chad's. Yeah.
Just about
we're,
a mile from me.
Yeah, after this season ends, we're gonna start, growing them, taking care of them up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So we'll, like you were saying, put in that extra work to, put Missouri at the top, in our little section.
Right.
But
That's that's really what it takes, is just that going the extra mile, like on that stuff. And I mean, if your state's not going to implement, one buck, and you have to be really selective on what you're going to kill. You have to put in the work to be able to grow these deer. Now, granted, there's people that have these tens of thousands of acres they're able to hunt, so they're going to be able to go out and kill a big deer no matter what.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, you know, us that are a lot of my places, you know, I'm running on are less than 5 acres, and I've got multiple big deer on.
Yeah.
And the amount of deer that I passed on that were up to 150 inches this year, then the last year that, you know, I watched grow and just turn into freaking giants. Like, I'm like, you know.
You can, right here in Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, there's huge deer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
You were just saying that on the phone earlier, right over here at the fucking
deer.
Missouri River, Call Point over here. You know, you got,
yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, and they
you're
have those
saying.
Kansas City draws for all the city parks and stuff, and these guys go in.
Right.
I was talking to a guy the other day. His girlfriend, she got drawn, and for 2 different ones, one of the Kansas City ones and then Monkey Mountain. He was talking about how, like, and she...
we know Monkey Mountain.
That's great big deer out there.
Yeah.
And
Jeff Leslie.
yeah.
and they had during the meeting, they were like, girls, you know, we only killed a couple deer last year out of all of y'all. Like, you know, we kind of need to, like, up them numbers, and, you know, because these are, like, all women events, like, you know, or hunting event, like, that they're only letting women in these certain areas and stuff.
Yeah.
And, yeah, they're like, we need to up these numbers. Like, we can't just be passing deer. We can't be, you know, need to be shooting does. Like, the whole reason these managed hunts are implemented is because everybody's smoking with their damn cars. Like, they're wanting to get them out of there.
Right.
And, you
You
know,
mentioned the women thing. I mean, Mel is just a stellar hunter. I mean, she's a stellar person, hunter, fisherman. She heard that deer she got was out on the eastern side of the state, the Mississippi Basin.
nice.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that go out there and hunt those islands. I really wanted, I never have the time, you know, and I'm always chasing deer back home. But you know, the amount of public that I was originally hunting the last few years before I was able to pick up, I lost a ton of properties, and then I was able to pick up a few more, and now I've really just honed in on those properties, and just, you know, between work and play, and, you know, you're trying to make that balance of stuff. And I pretty much, like, the past 2 weeks, I said, fuck my job. Like, I just said, piss off, don't talk to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's a vacation, man. Like, you know, I'm like, jobs are, you know, easy to come by.
Right.
And I'm like, you know, big deer aren't.
That's right.
You
got
got
priorities.
Yeah,
Unless you're paying $50 an hour or something.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Got a little bit of stash that you're like, all right, that's good enough. You get me by for a few weeks while I go chase these deer. And that's,
I hope I'm right. Melissa, she killed that one out on the eastern side. I'm pretty sure it was like Union.
I could check my phone
or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, she got a nice buck in any
I
case.
seen that deer. It was pretty good deer.
Kirksville?
Kirksville?
Well, I think it was
Possibly.
Union.
Was it? Yeah, I'm not sure.
But anyway,
I'm not
I
sure
think she's
where.
out on the eastern side of the state.
Either way,
She's-
Mel's a fucking monster.
She
She's,
is.
you know, killing deer and
Yep.
doing everything.
Yep.
Hope to hop on some hunts with her.
And speaking of the women, she works that Wonder Woman Kansas group, which is, they do all kinds of great things with women, learn how to fish and hunt, and it's stellar.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have her on the podcast here soon.
Yeah, well, we had her on here. That was our first podcast in here, remember?
Yeah. Yep.
And
yeah,
it was
she'll
hot.
be on.
It was still hot. We didn't
Yeah,
even
we
have
didn't
the
have no AC in here yet. We had to crank out podcasts early in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, we're here in KC Speakeasy, the new bar. Can't really see it from this angle, but this is a 48-foot bar. Got some live edge on it, and
Yep. It's a private event space.
Private event space. Working through some obstacles to get it open, but be open here soon.
Yeah. It's just about to wrap up the liquor licensing process. Private event space. We'll have our free reign events here, but mostly available for rental.
Yep.
So we're just about there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
been a crazy process.
it has
Yeah.
learned a lot from it. Casey Moe's been really good to work with, by the way. Seriously has.
Yeah.
It's just a process we got to get through. So, and we appreciate all our neighbors. We've been introducing ourselves and getting to know them, and we've met some really good people. So it's been really cool.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I think this is our longest podcast so far.
And this is a long one.
I think
Tristan's done
definitely
an excellent job.
you guys are going to be seeing a ton of Tristan here on the podcast and in the content. We'll be filming his hunts, and he's going up with us this weekend to Chillicothe.
Yep.
thank you, Tristan, for hopping on with us.
Absolutely.
Great episode, a lot of information.
Yep.
I think we'll definitely be on here again soon.
Yeah, definitely.
But
I appreciate
see you guys
it.
again next time. Thanks, Tristan.
Yep. Live your free reign. Let's go.